Hey everyone, welcome to the Light Stand. We are Art and Natalie, and guess what? The guests you all have been waiting for and asking for and DMing us about, they here. They here right now. Luis and Liz Talavera, guys.
You probably recognize those laughs.
Yeah. Let me tell you, this couple, you've heard it in previous episodes before, man, but this couple right here has left such a huge imprint in our life, in Natalie and I's life. I know in mine for sure. With Luis, my brother from another mother, the big brother that that God didn't bless me with biologically, but definitely spiritually. I mean, he right here. These guys right here.
We here.
We ready. We're so excited to have you guys, man.
We're honored to be here, guys. It's you guys are family to us, and sorry we've taken so long to be here, but we're happy to be here. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yes, we've heard the episodes, that you guys have done already, and they've been really good. And I know they've been a blessing to a lot of people as well. We've had people comment to us on the previous episodes that, they were like, oh my gosh, we've listened to them, and, the different testimonies and things like that from other people that you've had as guests, as well as like your own story, Yeah. So it is making a difference.
Yeah, super proud of you guys for doing this, and you've always worn your heart on your sleeve, and you're all love, and you want to help people. So this is just an extension of both of your hearts. And I remember. I was remembering this, Natalie. You couldn't even look me in the eye when I first met you. And anytime I would say a ridiculous joke, you would hide your laugh. And so just to see where you guys are at, your family, and just to see the fruit that God has blessed you guys with is beautiful. So we here.
We're ready. And fun fact, the first time I met Luis, I thought he was a super cool guy because he had an alchemy shirt on.
Oh, snap.
And for those of you guys that are not in El Paso or in the car scene, back in the Fast and the Furious days, El Paso had a bunch of car clubs. And I had been a part of Team Axis, which is a car show team, high caliber Honda Civics or whatever. Now looking at it from an adult's perspective, it's just a bunch of grown guys with maxed out credit cards. But anyway, Luis you had an alchemy shirt on, and I was like, bro, okay, like I vibe right away. And then when I met Liz, you told Luis to hide the money. Yeah. And I didn't know this till years later. I was like, that was Liz's first impression of me? You telling him to hide the money? Because there was a bunch of dollar bills on the table, and
you gotta give context.
Yes, we gotta give context.
Yes.
Like, we met in a business setting, right? And so obviously, there was money involved and stuff.
Legitimate business, by the way.
Yes, legitimate business. And we weren't trafficking anything,
Piles of sugar on the table.
But the art, like the diamond art that you see now,
Oh yeah, for sure.
it was. He was cold back then.
He had no hair.
No hair, like
shaved head,
thugged out.
Loose
crip walked
clothes.
inside the house.
He had a pimp blimp.
Yeah.
I just got shot. So
Oh my god.
I'm still walking it off.
Is that a pager on your ankle?
No, but gosh, we were super young at that time,
Yeah.
We were what, 20, 22, 23 years old?
Oh, no. We were already like 26.
Yeah?
Uh-huh. Yeah, 26.
And then
26.
you guys were how old?
19 and 20.
19 and 20.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
So that's how far back we go.
Yes.
We go back, man.
Yeah.
We go back.
I know you guys BK, before kids.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
No, what?
Natalie was pregnant
She
with
was
Alec.
pregnant.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sí, cierto.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. And then Alec took his first steps
His first
in your
steps at my mom's
Yes.
house.
Mom's
Yeah.
house. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So
Wow.
Yeah.
family, man.
Way back.
Family, guys.
Abby
Sir.
was 4.
Yes.
Abby was 4?
Abby was 4. Yeah.
She just turned 21.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
crazy, huh?
Yeah.
So wild.
Time flew.
That always goes through my mind when I go with her to a vocal class. Because I'm like, I know you since you were 4. And now you're teaching me how to sing. You know, like, it's so crazy.
Sure.
And by the way, if y'all haven't heard her episode, Dear Gen Z with Adrian, guys, you are missing out. You need to just stop listening right now. Go listen to that one because Luis and Liz have created a mic dropping machine, not just in the singing platform, but man, her knowledge and just everything that she was, sharing about teenagers and how, the impact that her and Adrian are having with the teen community,
Yeah.
the
Yes.
young adult community. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, they're doing an awesome job. And I mean, she's a great woman of God to begin with, but she's been an amazing daughter. But the one thing that we always say, which is true, and I mean, you guys have definitely left an imprint in her life as well, but it takes a village to raise a kid. It really does. Like, Luisa and I can't take full credit, for that. Like, I know my mother-in-law, for example, has been a huge, spiritual guide for her, and Lily, Rocio, all her
Karime.
pastors at church, Karime, just all of those people that have walked her through like the whole worship, process of like helping her learn. But yeah, it's been a whole village, literally.
Absolutely.
That have definitely helped.
you.
Yeah. Power of association, as we've
Yeah.
learned, right?
For sure.
Man. So take us back, guys, from, you all just celebrated Abby's 21st birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But let's go back 21 years of how did you guys even meet?
So we
What's
were
your
10.
story?
No, I'm joking. We were 10
Yes.
when we got pregnant. No. Super weird podcast. Yeah, so back in our heathen days, right? We were, in the club scene and party scene and all of that here in El Paso. And we had mutual friends that we would party with on the weekends, but we actually never ran into each other. And so the first time that we actually met was at a rave here in El Paso. And forgot the DJ's name that was in town. Lillian, was it? Something like that.
Yes.
And so with our mutual friends, we went out. I was actually seeing somebody at the time, and she was also with somebody else. But we weren't there with those people. We were just there to hang out. And the first time we met, it was literally just a hello, how are you? Nice to meet you. But, that was it. And then...
But he was hooked.
But I really was, because
Love at
like
first sight.
at the different parties that I would run into her, I'm like, who is that? And Liz had the what's the girl from Matrix? Trinity. Yeah, she had that Trinity look going, and I was like, okay, I'm about to take the right pill. You know what I mean? Like I'm about to go down that rabbit hole with her. Let's go. And so I would see her, but like I said, I was with somebody, and then that relationship, we ended up that relationship, and I was like, I gotta go find this girl. And so, shout out to Club Vertigo in Juarez.
Wow.
There was a DJ in town as well, and normally we wouldn't go there like on a Saturday, but that DJ was in town, so I was like, let's go. She's got to be there. And sure enough, and she was just coming from a wedding too. So she was looking all hottie. And I was like, what's up? And so, yeah, we just started talking, getting to know each other. I had just bought this Chevy truck, and I was looking pretty good. And after after that night, there was going to be an after party at the owner's house. And I pulled the move of, would you like to go with me? I mean, she was going to go too, she was going to go with her cousins. And I was like, would you like to go? My truck's here, we can go. And that's where I got her, man.
Nice.
I had parked, what is it? Valet I had parked valet there at the club. They bring out my new truck. She gets in. She's like, "Oh, this dude's
I know,
loaded."
he tricked me.
I got her.
What was
you know?
your reaction, Liz? Like when you saw him with the truck and
Well, it was a really nice truck, and like you said, it was brand spanking new. I think he had probably just gotten it like that week or something like that. And then he's like, telling me about his other truck. Like you said, he was in that Alchemy car club, and so he's telling me, yeah, I have a show truck as well, and like trying to be all smooth and stuff. And I'm like, dang, that guy. Yeah, I was like, man, this guy probably does, really well. Like, I'm gonna see what this is all about.
Yeah. Little did she know I was broke as a joke, like every cars were maxed out and
Facts.
like I have the vehicle, but you got any gas money, girl? It was like that. So we ended up going to that guy's house. We were all a bunch of friends there just hanging out, and I was so nervous because she was way above my league, and so I didn't even ask her for her number. I was just like, hey, here's my number, give me a call, we can hang out sometime.
nice.
And that was it.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, we had mutual friends in common. And so, a couple weekends after that, I guess it was, we were all going to go, to the club again or whatever. And whoever knows Luis, like, he's hilarious, and so I don't know. We just had a really good time together. How like we would always we'd be cracking up, and he was just fun to be with. Like he was very easygoing, and he was just one of those people. Like I just had fun with him. And like he said, I was in another relationship at that point. I did have a boyfriend at the time, and we had
more of an. I mean, you were engaged. Let's just get it out there.
I had a ring.
Just shout out to anybody out there who says it's. I say it's never too late, guys. I'm just saying.
No, there was like no set date or anything. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm getting married on such and such date.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right. But and I had dated this guy for like almost 5 years now. It was like a 4.5-year relationship and stuff, but it was, like looking back now, it was a little bit of a toxic relationship and stuff. And, so I don't know, just meeting him, it was just kind of like a breath of fresh air, and so the more we started hanging out and the more we started talking and stuff, I was like, I kind of want to see where this goes, and so I did end up breaking off that other relationship and then just, took my chances with this one.
Wow.
What a risk.
Yeah.
And
I know, I wanted my money back.
¿Y el recibo?
yeah. And
I threw it away.
That's a good relationship advice. Like, Liz always asks me, like, if I regret anything. I was like, man, I regret I didn't decide sooner. As you'll hear our testimony here in just a little bit, but our story. But I guess what I'm getting at is like, there was no drama with her. Like, we would have a blast together. Like, it was super cool. She wouldn't bug out. Like, if I was going to go, I used to love playing basketball. And at that time, I wasn't really a big drinker, but I would just like to play ball. And so I was like, hey, I'm gonna go play. All right, cool. Whereas in previous relationships, it was like, oh man, all kinds of drama and so I guess what I'm getting at is like, if there's red flags early on, I mean, we should pay attention to those things,
Yeah.
And here we didn't see a lot. There weren't red flags, but sometimes we're very stubborn in our ways because, and Liz agrees with this, like we weren't each other's type. I think that's a big, big mistake. Like, don't get me wrong, we all need to have standards. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I mean, you could say, I'll say what it was. I'll say, she has to be tall. She has to have long hair. And Liz, I met her. She's a shorty, and she had short hair like Trinity in the movie, And so it was so crazy because I was so attracted to her. I was like being pulled to her, but she wasn't my type. And I think some people sometimes are too stuck on their own types.
Yeah.
Where, I mean, it's, God's like, well, my type for you is something different.
Yeah. And my type was like, I liked like the preppy white boy, like frat type of guy.
Oh, wow.
And so, which, Luis was like the total opposite. So So it's weird.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, we connected. It was just like, hey, are you going to that party? Yeah. All right, cool. I'll meet you there. And so we did that for several months, maybe
A few weeks.
a few
I guess.
weeks. Okay. See, guys, yeah, we're really bad on times.
Yeah.
But our first official date was like, all right, let's meet up, let's go somewhere.
Yeah, just the two of us
Just the
without
two of
anybody
us.
else around.
Because
Went to Trek One.
yeah, track
Oh, that's
one,
cool.
man, that's
Wow.
best wings in El Paso.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know if you guys have seen the movie White Chicks or not, but there's this scene where they go to a restaurant and one of the white chicks orders all kinds of stuff, That was Liz on her first date. She's like, I'll have some wings and some nachos. You want anything?
Yeah.
Perhaps a salad? I was like, perhaps a salad?
Perhaps not.
And again, that should have been another like, oh, she's a keeper. You know what I mean? Like because we put on a front a lot of times, because we're trying to impress the other person, but Liz was just being herself. You know what I mean? All 90 pounds of her.
Yeah.
She was
Oh, the good old days when I could eat whatever I wanted and not gain weight.
burning off at
I know.
the
Now I
at the
smell a
dance
pizza
floor.
and it's all.
Yeah. So yeah, we started dating. We got really close. Obviously, we're very intimate physically, and we were a little background is. I grew up in the church. My mom is my spiritual guide. My dad was like in and out of my life growing up. He was my hero growing up, and then when I got to be like an adolescent, my dad was involved in the church, and then something happened when I was an adolescent, and he kind of fell off the wagon per se. He started misbehaving. I didn't know any of this at the time, so they pulled me from a certain school to a different school. And so you know how it is, man. 12 years old, all your friends are left behind. You have to start a new, and I went from a Mexican community to a white community. And nothing racist, nothing like that. Got love for everybody. But it was a culture shock for me. And so I was very rebellious, really honestly let go of God at the time. Even though I was sent to a Christian school, my mom was trying to like keep me in, God's path. But I don't know, I was just too rebellious at the time. And since it was just her and I, my dad had left, it was just me and my mom and my sister. A lot of rebellion. And Liz grew up too, right, in the church?
Very similar. Since I was very little, my mom, would take me to church, and my dad never, came around. It was just more so her. And when I guess around 14, 15 years old is when I kind of was like, no, like this isn't for me. I'm done, and so that's when I started going out and partying a lot. And I'm an only child, and so I have a lot of older cousins. Most of them are like 5 years older than I am, and and so I was hanging out with them. Like at this point, they were 20, 21 years old, and I'm 15 years old, right? And so like I'm going into the clubs over there in Juarez with like fake IDs and things like that. And so that's exactly where we met, but very similar to him. I grew up with two parents in my home, but not a good marriage. My parents were not like the picture perfect, marriage. Like I said, my dad really never went to church. My mom did. But, he loved to drink, and, there was always marital issues and things like that. And when I was about 18, 19 years old, I believe it was, my dad finally left the house. And so my parents separated, and, he went to go live with somebody else. And that, like, I was always vaga, I guess, from like 15 to about 18 years old. But when that age hit, when my dad left the house, is when I just like... Girls Gone Wild,
Really?
That's really when I became like super rebellious, and like I don't know, I did a lot of stuff that I was not supposed to be doing, and and it was during that period of time that Lisa and I met. I was 20 years old at the time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so the reason I bring that up is because we knew of God, we knew of the good and the bad and all that stuff. But, there's things that happen in your life, I guess, and it's just choices, right? So we both chose to leave that. But I guess what I can say is it was always in the back of my head of like, you're not supposed to be doing this, or, like, hey, but I was just ignoring it. And, so yeah, and honestly, I was still in that party life, and I was still, had feelings for somebody else, and embarrassed to say that Liz and I would break up, get back together, break up, get back together, and it was just, I just wasn't, helping the situation, especially that, when I found out that. There was one day where Liz calls me from work and she's like, "Hey, I have to talk to you." And we weren't together. It was during another unfortunate breakup, and we weren't together. She calls me. I gotta talk to you. So I go to her place, and we pass by that place still. We're like, "Hey, look, that's where it happened." And she's like, "I have something to tell you." And I'm like, I get to her job. She comes out, and she's like, "I'm pregnant." And I pulled a Ross, right? Because I was like. But we were on a break, like we're not together. Like that has anything to do with it.
We had just been broken up for like a week or two, and he's like, "But we're broken." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm like 2 months now."
So I was like, "What the heck, man?" And for any of you guys listening to this, have you ever when you got that hey from Natalie, right? Mm-hmm. I'm pregnant.
Yep.
Right, your knees buckle and your voice starts to sound like this. And,
I cried. I cried. So
yeah.
You cried when you told him?
Yeah. When we found out, I cried. I was like, "No." But yeah, I was gonna say something else.
I was happy. I was low key.
Yeah.
Man, dude, Alec and Angelo I need to hang out with more adults because now I'm saying low key too. I was low key happy too. Yeah.
But yeah.
So I was freaking out, and like I said, I was in another, and then I had been bouncing around with this other girl and Liz, and so I'm like, okay, what do I do? And the one thing that I wanted to make sure I was not is a deadbeat dad. Somebody that, again, because of what happened to me, I was like, I want to be there for this kid, boy or girl, whatever it is. Like I want to be there. But I just wasn't mature yet. And, I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it for the baby. You know what I mean? And so I was still very, my emotions and my feelings, I guess, wasn't really sure what I wanted. But what I didn't want was to be a dad that just abandoned his kid.
Yeah.
So I remember breaking up, and then we got back not right away, but like we got back together. And I try to help you like with the doctor's appointments and like maybe like very, very short period.
Yeah.
But because my heart wasn't there with Liz, and it was somewhere else, I would just always go back with the other girl, and then I would break Liz's heart or just make her feel. And I mean, just to cut it shorter, is I pretty much left Liz pregnant to go through the whole pregnancy on her own.
Oh, wow.
And, it's embarrassing to say this because I haven't talked about this in a while, but like I left Liz for this other girl, and the other girl was like, well, you know what? You already have a kid with her. I don't have anything with you. Mm-hmm. And she's like, we need to get married. And I was like, okay. So I get married while Liz is pregnant with Abby, and I remember calling Liz up one day because, again, I still wanted to be there for Abby. And we met in a Whataburger. Liz was full belly. She was, pregnant with Abby. And that's where I told her, I was like, hey, look, I'm married. I got married, but I want to be there for the baby. And Liz's family hated me, obviously, because I got her pregnant and then I left her and I got married to somebody else. Yeah. So I don't, obviously, they had all the right. So Liz was like, oh man, my mom's not going to let you into Abby's life. My dad's not going to want you around. So like under the table, Liz and I were chatting a little bit. keeping me updated with her appointments and how things were going, stuff like that. And then the day comes that Abby's on her way. Her cousins had called my mom's house. I was living with my mom at the time, with my wife at that time, and they were like, "Hey, listen, we just wanted you to know that the baby's coming. We know that the family's not going to let you know, and we're kind of like behind their backs trying to help you and at least let you know what's going on." And I remember we, as a family, my mom and my stepdad at the time, we went to the hospital, and oh man, it was a bunch of drama because obviously I wasn't allowed there. The family wanted nothing to do with me. It was a mess. And Liz is upstairs, obviously trying to have labor and trying to have this baby. And yeah, man, that was 21 years ago.
Wow.
Since we just celebrated Abby's 21st birthday.
Wow.
Yeah. It was insane.
That's crazy.
Yeah. The next day, I went to the hospital, and without like the family knowing, and I walked into the nursery, and it was so crazy. Like I'm looking around, like trying to find out who my baby is, and I hear a baby crying, and because I had passed that nursery. And I hear it crying, so I went back to see the baby that was crying, and it was Abby. And as soon as I got to her, like she stopped crying. It was so weird.
Oh my God.
Wow.
But then I noticed that Abby had blonde eyebrows, and I was like, "Wait a minute, Liz, what is going on here?"
She's güerita.
Yes, it's so weird. I mean, like,
She's light-skinned.
I'm morena, and so, and like Luis, obviously, he's lighter, but it's not like he's white, but we have white babies like when they're born.
That's true.
Abby had like blonde
I was like, "Okay, girl,
streaks in
you got
her
some
hair
explaining."
and completely blonde eyebrows.
Oh my
Aaron
God.
as well. I mean,
Yeah.
you took care of him for a while,
Yeah.
and he's completely white blonde eyebrows to the point where like you couldn't even see them.
Wow. Sí, es
Yeah.
cierto. But your
So he
mom
was, like-
is very
Yeah, my
light-skinned.
mom is very light skinned.
Yeah.
I'm light skinned.
So I guess they take her
Yeah.
genes.
Oh.
So yeah, I remember that day I went and filed for child support because I was like, I want to make sure that like I provide, and there's never an excuse of me not seeing my daughter. But honestly, it took I think 2 months before I could actually hold my daughter. Liz agreed to meet with me and my mom at a Peter Piper Pizza, and that was the first time that I actually got to hold Abby in my arms. But like I said, I was with somebody else.
Wow.
And Liz had just had the baby, and it's crazy. And here's, I guess, something I want to share. Like I had asked God, I was like, I want you to make this work. And what I mean by this was that other relationship. I was like, God, I want this. This is what I want, and you need to make it work.
Wow.
And it was so crazy. And I don't know if I've shared this with you, Mama, pero like she was Catholic. And so I remember it was like, okay, well, one weekend we'll go to the Catholic church, and then the other weekend we'll go to a Christian church. And like I was playing that role, right? And I guess in my mind, I was like, I'm trying to do things your way, God. I'm trying to, you know what I mean? Okay. But it wasn't. That's not how it works with God. It's like we need to go to God and ask, what do you want from me? Like what plans do you have for me? What I was wanting to do is like, hey, God, this is what I want. You need to make it work.
Yep.
And that marriage didn't even last 6 months. And, just some stuff happened there, and trust, that I lost trust. And it was just like, you know what? This is not going to work. And you would think that I would go back and change my life completely, but no. I didn't go back to Liz. I ended up just going to liquor, just going to alcohol and partying more, just getting drunk. I had never really been a big drinker because I was always into sports and I loved playing ball and, just didn't mix. But I guess I got mad at God because he didn't make what I wanted work. Oh, if that makes sense. Yeah. And I remember, I would tell Liz, like, I just don't love you. Like, it's not there for me. It's not, I don't feel that for you. And that's why I never, I guess, stayed with her because I didn't feel like I loved her. And so for, unfortunately, like a year, I was just drinking a lot, partying a lot. And in that year, Liz had given me an opportunity to, all right, let's try to make things work again. And we're playing house. We didn't get married or nothing. We were together. We would have, good time with Abby. But then, I was messing around with other girls and I was just not doing what I should be doing. And is that kind of when the trip happened with my sister?
No, because Abby was already 3. So that went on and off like for a good while, where it was just kind of on and off, on and off, on and off. But it was Abby, I think, was either 2 or 3 years old when we took that trip to your sister's.
You want to talk about that?
So we went to. The relationship was just really rocky already. And I remember, in the back of my mind, I was like, what am I doing? Like, this is just, it's not healthy for me. And it's not going to be healthy for our daughter. I grew up in a dysfunctional family and I knew exactly what that looked like. And what I had always told myself, like, I'm never going to, be in a type of relationship like my parents. And that's exactly what was happening. And so I already had that in the back of my mind. And so we take this trip to go visit my sister-in-law. And the whole trip, I was just kind of not really, in it with him to begin with. And just the whole trip, I was like, what am I doing? Like, why am I even here? Like, we're not a family. Like, why am I on this family vacation, And I guess that's what was, like, really bugging me at that point. Yeah. And the whole trip we were there, I was just kind of, looking at my sister-in-law's life. It was one that, like, seemed like, wow, they really have it together. And, like I shared with you guys earlier, like, they're very successful, financially. They had a beautiful home. They have an even more beautiful home now. But they had a beautiful home at that point, and their marriage seemed like a healthy marriage. They seemed happy. They had a good, like, family life. And the whole time I was just looking from the outside in and just wondering, like, why does she have those things and I don't? Like, what's the difference? Like, what makes her better than me? And it wasn't, like a material thing that made her life better. But I came to realize that trip, like, wow, everything around her life revolves around Christ. It revolves around God. Like, her family foundation is God. Like, everything was built upon that. Their whole service, their work, like, everything that they did, was for the glory of God, basically. And so I guess it just, I don't know, my mom's, endless prayers for me and that weekend just made me realize that. And I made a decision that weekend. I was like, you know what? Once we get back, like, yeah, that's it. I can't, continue like this. And so when we got back into town, I told Luis, I was like, you know what? We need to talk. Like, things aren't good. And when we finally sat down and had that conversation, I was like, we need to make a decision, and it needs to be the right decision for our daughter, because she's the one that is going to benefit or be hurt the most in this next step,
Yeah.
And so I told him, I was like, our 2 options are we just break it off and we stay friends and we respect each other and we end this in a healthy way where we can continue to co-parent for her sake. I never, ever, ever wanted to be that type of mom that wouldn't allow, my kids to see their dad, or I never wanted Abby to be like, well, it was your fault that I never got to, have a relationship with my dad. And I was like, if you decide that you want to stay in this relationship, we can give it one last shot, but like, that's it. This is your last opportunity for things to change and for us to make this work, but it's going to be different. Like, I'm going to go back to church. And I think that's what it was. Like, I didn't, push him or anything. I told him, I was like, I'm going to go back to church and I'm going to start, taking Abby with me because I want her to have that foundation. And if you want to continue in the relationship, it's going to be that way. Like, you're either going to come with us to church as a family or we just break it off. I was like, think about it and then, let me know what you decide.
Yeah. That's a huge nugget because I always tell Liz that had she not made that decision, like us guys, we're comfortable. This is for like the ladies. We'll go as far as you let us. And until Liz put her foot down, and this time I knew she was serious. And this time I was like, oh, dang, like, I could smooth talk my way in previous times and I could use all kinds of different excuses, but this was like, okay, she's serious, and I think that was the turning point for us because that's when we had reached out to my mom and we're like, hey, well, what church should we go to? And she's like, oh, well, you know what? Because she used to go to Vino Nuevo Juarez, and she's like, oh, well, they're just opening up here. They just recently opened up here in El Paso. You guys should go check it out. And so, yeah. And I share this because when I started going to Vino Nuevo, like I remember partying Saturday night and still being buzzed Sunday morning, like at church, and the reason I share that and I'm being vulnerable of sharing that is because like we all think that we have to come to God like perfect. We all think that we have to like, let me fix all this other stuff, Lord, and then I'll go to you. Yeah. It was more like, no. And, Abby came, kind of like what you said earlier, Art, about Alec, like they came into our lives and it helped us change. It helped change us, like I wanted to be that dad. I wanted to be there for Abby. And, there was a turning point in my life where friends had left me, how old was I? 26 years old. No, 24 years old. And I'm like, man, I'm divorced. I'm 24. Like, what the heck? Where did I go wrong? And there was just a turning point in my life where I was just in an old apartment by myself. No friends because they weren't around. Of course, they're there when things are good, but they weren't there when things were bad, and they weren't true friends. And I just remember praying and saying, God, like, I need your help. I just need your help. It wasn't this sophisticated, beautiful prayer or nothing like that. It was just like, dude, Father, dude, I need your help. Sometimes you don't even know what to say, right?
Right. Yeah.
Hey, yo.
Hey, yeah. Hey, yo, you there? And I was just like, I need some help. That trip happened. We started going to church together, and it wasn't right away. But I remember the prayer that I had asked was, I need a new heart because I'm tired of this one. Well, yeah. I mean, and I could say this like now, like I'm crazy about Liz. Like I absolutely love her like crazy. But I wasn't there at one point, and when I asked God for a new heart, like he just started showing me things of her, seeing her in a different way, seeing things of her I hadn't noticed before. And we were going together and we were going to church together. And so this conviction comes to you. We're like, hey, we need to do things right. Yeah. We stopped, even though we already had a little girl, we stopped having sexual relationships, and we were like, because we weren't living together. And, things started getting a little better for us. Some great people in our life came, and, shout out to the Burnett's, Ken and Veronica, were a couple that came into our life when we absolutely needed it, just a mentor to help us. And I know our marriage, wouldn't be what it is right now without them, because I found a man who was a successful businessman, but he had the fruit in his family that I wanted. The respect that him and Veronica shared with each other, their 3 girls, the way that they were treated and the way they would treat him. And I was like, man, this guy's got it, And so I started listening to him, and he started, iron sharpens iron. He started hitting the iron head that I had of stubbornness and helped us change, right? And it took a while. But we're very, very thankful for them and for many other couples that the DeSalts and so many people that we met outside of church and inside the church.
Yeah.
And so that was a big turning point for us.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Would you guys say that, like, any young couples that are listening to us, would you recommend that they surround themselves with other couples that have that fruit? You know, like, what would you guys recommend to those young couples?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, association is everything. You know, I used to hate when my mom would tell me, dime con quién andas y te diré quién eres, you know?
Who your friends are,
tell
and
me
I'll
who
tell
your
you
friends are and I'll tell you who you are.
Yeah.
And I was like, you don't know anything.
You don't know my friends, Mom.
Your typical
You don't know them?
teenage
I know
or
them.
Yes.
young response.
Yes, but now as an adult, you know, I've come to realize association is everything. And so, you know, like Luis said, we were blessed enough to have those people come into our lives. But if you don't have those people that are just coming into your life, like, you need to go out and seek them.
Yeah.
You know, seek those friendships that are going to tell you the truth in love,
Right.
and not just want to leave you as you are, you know. And we were, like he said, we admired the Burnett's marriage. You know, we both came from broken homes. We both came from dysfunctional family units. And so we didn't know what a successful marriage looked like. You know, our warped vision of what marriage is not it. You know,
Right.
Marriage is amazing and marriage is beautiful. And, you know, it was designed by God, and it's the representation of Christ's love for the church. And so, you know, when we found that, we were like, wow, you know, that this is amazing.
Right.
And like I said, we were blessed enough to have them, you know, the Lord just created that path and they came into our life. But if you don't have that yet, but are, you know, looking to get married or are married and you have, you know, some crazy stuff going on, or like, look for those people that you can say, wow, I admire them.
Right.
Yeah, and you know, we learned in business, of course, never ask a broke person how to make money because they won't know. You know, so why do you keep hanging out with certain couples or certain relationships who, you know, maybe don't have the marriage you want,
Right.
you know, and or worse, you're not hanging out with anybody and you're just listening to yourself. I think that is one where you're counseling yourself, you're mentoring yourself, and you know. And so if you see a tree out there that has an apple on it, but there's like worms coming out of it, like, you're not going to eat from that tree.
Yeah.
You know, and so when we talk about check the fruit, I mean, is that somebody that you would like to have a relationship like or similar to? You know, if you're going to go, I don't know, if you're going to open up a business or whatever, like, you probably want to go and talk to some successful business owners. You know, if you want to get fit, you probably want to get around people who, you know, have fit. You don't want to hang out at Dunkin' Donuts and just asking all those people, hey, how do you guys get, you know, fit, right? And so in relationships, in marriage, it's super, super important that you get, you know, that you actually seek out and you seek that help for sure.
Awesome. Thank you guys for sharing.
I love that you said that God brought the Burnetts to your life at the perfect time, because that's exactly how I feel about you guys. When I was working at and you guys have heard already when I was there, vomited, and I was telling God, like, man, I need to change. I was working at Pep Boys, and then I ended up getting fired for allegedly stealing this old man's tools, which I didn't. I had brand spanking new tools from Western Tech, dude. Like, why would I want your rusty old tools? But I didn't love.
I'm glad you're over it.
clearly my trauma.
Yes.
I'm still healing. But I didn't lock my toolbox in my ignorance. I thought, I just trusted blindly, I guess. The thing about the techs, just to give you context, in the automotive world, when you're an automotive tech, you don't get paid by hour, you get paid by the job. So if you're there 8 hours, but you only change one oil change for the day, that's all you get paid for.
Oh, wow.
So this old man, I'm the rookie there, and he gets upset that he has to share his jobs with me. So I leave my toolbox unopened. He throws some of his in there, and the manager calls me in the next day. He's like, "Hey, we found this in your toolbox." I'm like, "I don't even know what that does, dude. Like, why do I need that? Like, I'm brand new." He's like, "Yeah, well, because you're under the 90-day thing or whatever, I gotta let
Probation.
you go." And I'm like, "Wow." But God, here he goes. God, no hay coincidencias. Son diosidencias. There's no coincidence. God is always moving pieces. So I get fired thinking it's a bad thing. I get in my car. I turn on Power 102, and on the radio it says that this call center in El Paso, I don't even know if it exists anymore, but it's called EchoStar. For Dish Network at the time, they were paying $8 an hour, and I was making $6. Being all greasy and sweaty at the end of the day and stuff. I was like, bro, I could just sit in an air-conditioned office and take calls in Spanish for $8. Let's go. So I go apply. ¿Quieres Cinemax? Y HBO. So I get hired at this place. And here's what's crazy. I remember orientation day. Remember that theater room that they had? They split us up left and right, and then to the right they went with some trainer, and then with the left I go with this trainer named Tommy Alcala. Shout out, man. I don't know, you probably never hear this, but who knows. But so Tommy Alcala, he's my trainer at this place, and then he starts talking to me about business, and I'm all about money. Was all about money.
You still are.
No, but like
you're a hustler.
Huh?
You're a hustler.
Thank you, babe. But I mean, back then I didn't have any, standards of how I obtain money.
Legit or illegit,
It don't matter.
My bad.
Is this sugar? Yes, it is.
Yes.
So, he starts talking about business and, this and that. He gets to know me and, rap and stuff. He connected the dots perfect. And he's like, dude, I need to introduce you to this very successful couple, business-wise. I was like, okay, what's their names? Luis and Liz. I was like, okay, cool, I'm down. Where does this guy live? And like, yeah, man, come, meet me at this, because we went in at 2:30, from 2:30 to 11 at this little training thing. Yep. And then he's like, meet me at 1:30 at this address. And I'm over here thinking like, dang, man, it's going to be a mansion, And I pull up and I'm like, this is where this successful person lives? Okay.
My mom's house.
And then he throws on the computer, the laptop, and then boom, he throws on a 15-minute video of Dave DeSalt.
I remember.
And all I heard was, I retired at 26. I make 6 figures and I live on a golf course. And then it showed like his, MTV Cribs type. Remember he had an Escalade with spinners?
Yeah.
I was like, bro. I was like, dude.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, I'm totally interested. What do I need to do? And he's like, come to this meeting and then you'll meet, this mysterious Luis Talavera. I was like, okay. And then that's how I met Luis.
Wow.
There was a cloud of smoke and I came out.
Yeah.
Welcome to my crib.
Welcome. In a robe. With
so
pantuchas. With a gold L stitched to the purple pantuchas. No, drinking coffee.
Yeah.
No. But that's how I met these guys.
Yeah.
And God just finds a way. When you ask God for guidance and for change, and you really mean it, He knows your heart, man, and He's gonna totally put the right people in your life.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful for that conversation. I'm so thankful for that prayer, because we literally would not be sitting here without you guys, man. Yeah. So I know if you're listening, you're already tired of me like shouting out Luis and Liz, but you don't understand, dude. You don't understand. Crucial in so many aspects. But anyways, back to you guys.
I don't know where do we continue. Well, I mean,
And it took a while. Like, I'm not going to say that, like it was instantly.
Right.
I mean, it took a while for us to leave a lot of our bad habits, you know. I'm just going to be honest. I used to love drinking. Like, I was a big drinker. And I loved partying. I mean, I still enjoy a great party. Obviously I don't drink anymore, but, I've just always been, like, I want to have fun, and so it did take me, I think, a little bit longer than Luis to, like, leave a lot of those bad habits, you know. I want to say it was a good few years where we would go to church and our relationship was much better. Like, we were in a much better place. We were married and our marriage was good.
And I want to just backtrack a little bit. It was an easy change for me. I had to cold turkey it. What I mean by that was I changed my job. I changed my phone number. I left a bunch of friends. Like, I was very weak to where, like, if somebody called me, let's go party, let's go get drunk, let's go find some girls. I'm like, I couldn't say no, And the reason I share that is because I think a lot of times people don't know how to say no. And it's okay to run. It's okay to flee from the bad, you can say. And so if you're stuck in because I ran into somebody at church recently was like, Luis, you shared your story and I relate a lot with you because I can't leave my friends, And I told him, I was like, I know what you mean. I was like, all my friends were from my job. And so I literally had to change jobs.
Wow.
I went from that call center that you were talking about to installing satellites, and it was just a bunch of guys. You know what I mean? So it wasn't easy for me to just, no girls, I don't want anything. I literally had to leave all that to go to a place where it was just a bunch of dudes.
Wow.
And I was like, all right, well, I'm not going to be tempted to hit on these old guys. So yeah, I just wanted to share that because I feel like a lot of times people are like, I don't know where to start. And for me, I just had to kind of go drastic.
Wow.
Change your phone number, change my job. And even though maybe it was less pay, but in the long run, it's going to be better for you. So yeah, going back, you said our marriage was better now.
Yeah, our marriage was better now. And we had, good people in our lives that, were like teaching us, different success principles, and we were going to church. And I think the one key piece that we were missing is that we didn't have, like a church community. And I think that's what probably made it the hardest for me to like leave all of that behind, So it wasn't until we would go to church on Sundays, we would sit down, listen, it was over and we were out. And it was like that for many years, we were just Sunday attenders, attendees.
Oh, yeah. You could put a sticker on your car and say you're a Christian, but if your life doesn't back it up,
And so one time we went to a Valentine's Day dinner that they had there at our church, and we sat down with two couples with Marta and Hector. Remember them? And
shout out
this
Marta
other
and
couple. Yeah, and at that point, it was really weird. I told Luis that he's a coconut. Like, he's white on the inside and brown on the outside. Because he didn't really speak too much Spanish when we first got together. Like, now he's a pro compared to, like, way back then. And he's still pocho
And I'm still very pocho, yes.
Yes. But I remember we would go to church, and obviously, it's an all-Spanish church. And so we'd be sitting there, and every, couple of, like, sentences, what does that mean? What is that?
To this day, I'll be honest with you, Pastor Chris will say something and I'm like, what's that word? And I'll be Googling it or something.
But, and we hit it off really good with those couples because they spoke English. Hector spoke English, they're Puerto Rican. I think they're in San Antonio now.
Yeah.
And, we hit it off really good with them. And so we would hang out with them, and they had invited us over to dinner, and we would go out with them and things like that. And then they invited us to their small group. And we started going there. And at that small group, the couple that was leading it, they invited us to serve in the cafeteria. And so Sundays we started serving in the cafeteria, and little by little we just started meeting people and like creating community. And during that time, like I'm still struggling, right, with like, you know, after work people inviting, you know, us to go out to dinner. And like that's one thing, like I would never go by myself like partying or whatever, but it was a little bit of a conflict because I wanted to go and Luis was like, no, I'm done, like that's not for me.
Like,
or we would go, but he would
struggled
just
so
kind of
much leaving that life, you know, and then she's
he
like,
was
let's
like
just
the lump
go.
on the log, and I'm all, woo! Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, like this is bringing so many memories. This is now tempting me to do and look, you know, and I'm like, I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. I don't know. I just, you know, continuing to plug in, like you said, you know, with the people that were actually like, you know, like speaking life into us. And even more so at that point, you know, we came into a different community with like in Northeast, you know, where we were actually helping a little bit more and just, I guess I had that conviction in my heart where I was like, you know what, like I like this, you know, this is not for me anymore, you know, and it wasn't anything that anybody told me or like hit me over the head with, or, you know, it really was just a conviction that, you know, God brought into my heart where it was like, no, like, you know, this life is just not for you anymore. Like I have more, you know? And so I don't know. I stopped, you know, going out and it wasn't difficult at that point anymore, but it was just allowing the Lord to, you know, do what he needed to do. And little by little, like, you know, different paths started opening up for us. And then, you know, 10 years later, here we are at.
Yeah, that was a big turning point too. When we were serving, we became leaders of a cafeteria. And at the cafeteria, and then the main leader there, she was like, hey guys, they opened up another campus about a year ago, and they need some help in the cafeteria. But it's over there in the northeast side of town. And we're like, oh snap, it's like 20-30 minute drive depending on traffic. And we're like 10 minutes away from our house. Yeah. And I just felt, you know, from God saying, you guys need to go. And it was funny because she was like, yeah, it'll be like 6 months, you know, like you guys go help out, kind of get things going, and then you guys can come back to the east side. And I told Liz, and she's like, nope, I don't want to go. And I'm like, no, we need to go, babe. Like, we need to go. And Abby was still little, obviously, right? She was still small. But so we go, and we're in charge of the cafeteria, and we're there super early. I want to say we were at 3 services back then. Wow. And so, you know, just setting up nachos and burritos. It wasn't super hard, but just waking up early and then driving way further. But to Liz's point, you know, we developed a family was created there, you know, a church family. We weren't just Sunday churchgoers anymore. We actually created community. And that's really what the church is, you know, like what it was originally intended for. Right. It was, you know, it's the body of Christ, you know, it's like we're supposed to have fellowship with one another. It's not about a building. It's about us, you know, like right now there's 4 of us here. This is a church, you know what I mean? Where 2 or more are gathered in his name, like his presence is here with us. Amen. Yep. And so we went with the intention of serving in the cafeteria, and for 6 months, and it was a total of 10 years. Yeah. You know?
10 years in cafeteria.
And we went from
we were in cafeteria for a couple of years.
Oh,
and
okay.
Then,
serving.
Yeah, we changed.
Yeah. We were then moved to the offering, to ofrenda. So we were taking care of the offerings and depositing all that stuff. So we were really, really like careful with all that. Like we were taught in business, of course, integrity and you know, different things like that. And like, man, this is like God's money. You know what I mean? Like we want to make sure like a penny fell off the table. We're putting that right back, you know? Yeah. And we wanted we wanted to, you know, the whole glass house mentality, you know, like total transparency. And so we were there, and then, you know, Mike and Hannah Richards came to the Northeast campus to be pastors there. And they ended up, you know, moving us out of the offering, and they created like a position that's called a service pastor, obviously helping the pastors there, making sure that really the pastor can just focus on platform stuff. And we would focus on all the ministries and make sure that everything's flowing properly in the lobby. any, I don't know, people with marriage issues, things with their kids and all this stuff, just helping the pastor as much as possible, you know? And so we did that. And then that was pre-pandemic, right? That was pre-pandemic. And then the pandemic came and obviously did a whole thing on us as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys should tell us about your.
What happened in the pandemic, Luis?
Well, you know, 2020, huh?
2020.
2020.
November.
I would even say 2019. If we go back to 2019, Liz and I had just signed. We'd never really owned a house, and we had rented. We've been renting from the owners of Palo Verde. Shout out to Edgar. He's amazing. Him and his wife are incredible business people, but people of integrity as well. And so we love Palo Verde. Anyways, we had rented from them a house, a property of theirs. And I think it was in March of 2019 or something like that, April maybe, that we signed for 2 more years so that the rate could stay the same, right? The payment. And so we had signed, and I had felt like maybe a month or 2 after we had signed, I felt like God was saying, it's time to buy a house. And I was like, oh, God, okay, thanks, God. But could you tell Liz? Because if I tell her, she's going to kill me, you know? We just signed.
And you know how the market was like crazy hot for homes during the pandemic because the rates were like ridiculously low, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know, like Luis out of nowhere is like, I think we should buy a house. And I'm like, we just signed for 2 years. Like, we can't break a lease.
And I was like, you see, God? You see? I told you.
What did I tell you?
No, but it was just one of those feelings where like, no, babe, you know, like we need to do this. And, you know, I learned from a long time ago, it's like, well, what's the worst they can say? Right? It's no. It's already a no. Why not ask? Yeah. So yeah, I ended up reaching out to Edgar and I said, hey, you know what? If we bought a Palo Verde home from you guys, would you break the lease without any penalties and things like that? And he was like, man, I hate to lose you guys as tenants because you guys are so awesome. But yeah, of course, you know. So then we started looking into a home. And, you know, we were working, we were both working at ADP. We had our side business. But we had even looked into getting an additional job so that we can just, you know, for the down payment, for furniture, just. And the reason I bring all this up is because we were working really hard towards it. Liz had gotten another job. I was still looking to see what I should do and this was during the pandemic. Now this is in 2020. Yeah, right.
Wow.
And so maybe like I don't know, you started working maybe in July of 2020 or something like that, or I don't remember when it was, or 2019.
No, well, it was in October actually.
Okay.
Like we would fast forward to like
You're
October.
Right. You are correct. Yep. And so let's just say the RPMs are like maxed out. We're exhausted. We're not really seeing each other. We're not spending time with the kids as much, you know. At that point in our story, you know, we already had our son, Aaron, who's now 8 years old. And yeah, it's a 12-year difference between Abby and him.
Aaron.
Aaron.
Oh.
But we weren't spending much time with them. And the reason I bring this up is because in October we took a trip. Liz had this thing of like, we shouldn't go. And I was like, yes, we need to go. And she was like, no, I think, you know, God's saying that we shouldn't. I didn't listen to her. We ended up going to this trip. And that's where I get COVID. And so, well, actually all of us, we all got COVID. This was in November now, 2020.
Yes.
We all get sick. A week passes and they all get better except I don't. And I start getting wheezy. You know, I can't really breathe.
Yeah.
And this is not going well. And at that time, I think El Paso was like number one, unfortunately, in COVID cases and deaths and all kinds of stuff, right? So when it was at its peak, that's when I got sick.
Wow.
And there was obviously no boosters or none of that existed yet because it was still all brand new. But I got really sick, and November 15th of 2020, Liz had given up, saying like, look, I can't keep you in this house anymore, because even though we had an oxygen tank there, my oxygen levels had gotten down to like in the 60s, percentage wise.
Oh my goodness.
And she's like, I can't anymore. So she calls the ambulance, and I was really, really scared. I was really, really scared. I felt like something bad was really going to happen that day.
Wow.
And I started crying because my son, I saw Aaron like really freaking out because this ambulance is coming to pick up his dad. And so that hit me hard too. And I'm going to the hospital. They're stabilizing my oxygen levels and stuff like that. But like, let's just say when you get to the ER and you have like 6-7 people working on you all at the same time, like, it's not good.
Right.
And honestly, from what the doctors had mentioned, and they were just like, oh man, like, we're not seeing any changes. We're not, like, you're not getting better. I had all kinds of needles on me, and I was, because of the lack of oxygen, like, you start getting a little, things start looking fuzzy. I remember being in that room and just like kind of closing my eyes and, just feeling like this is it.
Wow.
And how they say, like, life flashes before your eyes. Like, man, I wasn't thinking about the house. I wasn't thinking about my job. I wasn't thinking about my business. All that goes out, and I just wanted to be with my family. And I was like, man, really? Like, I did all of that, and this is my last day. And so I felt like a lot of regret of like, man, I wish I could have done more, And yeah, it was pretty crazy. And I started praying. I was like, Lord, I'm sorry. I wish I could have done more. I was like, but I love you, and I'm thankful, for all of this. And I just felt like there was a presence like on the corner of the room, and I felt it was God, and God was like, you know what? You're not going to die. It's going to be okay, but it is going to be rough. But I'm here with you,
Wow.
And so that was a game changer for me, because that gave me so much hope of like, okay, maybe I can see my family again. And so that was really difficult, guys, because it's, you can't breathe. And for anybody out there who, was struggling with this, or maybe lost somebody, which I know there's many people that lost somebody because of COVID and things like that. Like, it was rough. But I just remember I couldn't breathe. And right now that we're hanging out here, it's no big deal. But like, you don't even notice that you're breathing, right? But at that point, they put this machine on you, forcing you to breathe because you can't do it on your own. And it's one of the most frustrating things. Like, if you've ever like been in a swimming pool and you're almost drowning, it's that feeling like constantly. And you're trying to like, and you're forcing yourself to breathe, and you're forcing to breathe. So it's very, very frustrating, tiring. I just wanted to be able to sleep, but I couldn't, obviously, because I couldn't breathe. And so that was a very rough night. And I remember telling people that I never believed in anxiety. I never believed in depression. I'd always tell people that would tell me that they're depressed. I'm like, stop being a girl, man. Just like, and that's me talking to a guy, right? Like, stop being a pansy, like man up, because I never really, I didn't believe in that stuff until it happened to me, And so I remember that night they called Liz to give her the bad news about me, and she didn't answer the phone.
Wow.
You never answer your phone, by the way. I'm just joking.
It was in the morning. The doctor had called me early in the morning, but I think I was like in a work meeting or something, like, because I'm still at home, with the kids, and I wasn't able to get to the phone call, and they just left a message like, oh, this is Dr. So-and-so calling from Providence, give us a call back. But when I called back, the doctor was gone already, and it was the attending nurse that was, and he was like, well, I can't release any information. You'll just need to wait until the doctor gets back. and then I'll have them call you back. And I was like, well, when is that going to be? And he's like, oh, I don't know. She's already left for the day, so we'll see. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And he can't talk. So it's not like I can call him, you know?
Right.
But I remember, we had started the prayers, remember, like, because there were so many people that were in the hospital at that point. And we were, you know, just in general, like praying for, you know, all of these people who, you know, were hospitalized and stuff. Through Zoom. Yeah. And that was that previous night, the night that Luis went in. We had started the Zooms and stuff, and the doctor called like early in the morning and, you know, looking at like the stats and things like that, right? And so finally she calls me like later on in the evening, and I'm able to speak with her, and she was like, you know what, I'm so glad that I didn't talk to you in the morning. She goes, because I didn't have good news for you. She's like, it just was not looking good.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so she's like, but I've come back this afternoon, and you know, it looks like he's responding a little bit to the treatment. So he's looking better than what he was last night when he first came in. Wow. So, you know, it was I don't know. I mean, the power of prayer is real, you know?
Oh, yeah,
and so I know we had started praying that night that he went in, and I know that, you know, like we said, you know, the presence of God there just with him and letting him know like it's going to be rough, but you know, I'm here with
there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that's where...
But he was in there for a total of what?
25 days.
Wow.
Yeah. The biggest thing was just not being able to be with them. You know what I mean? Like, as a family, we're really close, and I'm a physical touch person. Like, I love to cuddle. I love to grab my, you know, get Aaron in a chokehold or hug Abby and like just, you know, cuddle my family. And just the lack of physical touch for 25 days was very tough. That's where the anxiety came in. That's where the depression came in, because at the time nobody could visit you. Mm-hmm. And then another thing too is people were dying around me. That was another thing too. Being in a hospital and hearing the beep beep and then beep, you know what I mean? Like, and that's like right next door. And then you see all these people rushing in, and they're taking them out, and then all you hear is silence. Wow. And then, so like you have death around you, you have anxiety, what's going to happen to me? You have depression of like, I'm alone. But, you know, but the power of prayer, Mama, you're right. It's, you know, I knew people were praying for me. I would get on a FaceTime with my family, which wasn't immediate, but like, I don't know if it was a week or that week.
I don't know, a couple weeks, yeah.
Because I couldn't talk. I couldn't even get up from the bed. Wow. And it took over 2 weeks just to get off the bed. Wow. And like my body was super weak. And I'll be honest with you, I know it was God's mercy that allowed me to go through that, because had I not crashed per se, I would have still been running at 100 miles per hour, you know, driven for money, for the house, for all this other stuff, and not spend the time that I should be focused on with my wife and my kids and with the people that God had put in my life. And I share that it sounds weird saying God's mercy, but I know that it was, because during that time, like, what else do you do but talk to him? Yeah. You know? And God was like, I've been here all this time, and I've been working since I was 13 years old. Like I'm a hard worker. I'm a go-getter. Like, let's go, you know, we're going to make this happen. But even as a Christian, we can depend on our own abilities way more than on God's abilities, you know? Sure. And so we're like, God, I believe in you, but while I'm waiting, I'm going to go make this happen. And I think that's where I was, you know, and sometimes you're like, hey, how come I'm not growing here? And how come this isn't as successful as it should be? Or how come I'm not getting a raise at my job or whatever, you know? And you're like, okay, while I wait on that, I'm going to go get an extra job. I'm going to go do this. And so, you know, God really had that encounter with me of saying like, I've been here this whole time. You believe in your abilities, and I gave you those abilities.
Well,
But what about trusting in me? But what about what I can do for you? And I remember, when I was able to talk again, and Liz and I would chat, and shout out to our church for all the prayer warriors, that helped us out from the Northeast campus to West to East to Juarez. Like, it was amazing, just the turnout of support, and the people that supported my family. We had pastors and members of the church going over and dropping off food for my family while I was in the hospital. We had lost our pastor's wife, Aide, rest in peace. Like, she had passed away because of all this. So as a church, as a whole, we're going through a lot, And I mean, for my pastor, Chris, I say my pastor, Chris, but he's all our pastors, right? But like, as my pastor, like, he's texting me while I'm in the hospital. Are you okay? How you feeling? While he's like next to his wife, you know what I mean? And I'm just like, are you kidding me? Like, wow,
yeah.
What a man of God, what strength that he has. And super grateful for that community. And I remember Liz, I told Liz, I was like, babe, like, I'm gonna get out of here soon. I don't know when, but I'm gonna get out of here soon. And let's just forget about the house. I really don't know what's going to happen. Obviously, there's way more important things to worry about. Yeah. And let's tithe. Let's give an offering at the beginning of the year. So December 9th, I believe, is when I got out of the hospital.
Wow.
And man, I literally was in a wheelchair. Like, I couldn't walk on my own. I remember we cried our eyes out that night as I finally got to hug my family. They took me home, and I'm just crying the whole way. And I'm just so grateful to be sitting in a house that's not mine, that I was renting. But I was just so grateful to be home, because the house is just a building. But what's important is the family that's in there.
Come on.
And I equate it to the church is not a building. It's about the people that are in there.
Yeah.
And so, I had to take some physical therapy to start recovering and to be able to walk again. And like, it was really crazy, but I've always been into sports. I've always been about athletics and hard working and this and that. And when God took that away from me to depend on him and only him, that's why I say it was his mercy, because he helped me grow spiritually in a different way where I had to depend on him, And, to God be the glory, because we had already forgotten about the house. And we're like, what are we going to do? And we had prayed. And then, was I in the hospital when you called me about a check? Or you want to share that real quick?
Yeah. I mean, we kind of put a pause on everything. Because, I'm like, we're going to have all these, hospital bills when he gets out and things like that. And I was like, let's just focus on him getting better. And then, everything else will fall into place, type of thing. And I think that's the one lesson that I learned. It's something that I struggle with, but like always wanting to like be in control of things. Like nobody can do anything as well as I can. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, but, so it's something that, I struggle with. Like, I like to be in control of stuff. And so at that point, for me, it was the knowing that I have zero control over this. I can't be there with him. I can't, stay on top of like, what are they giving him? What are they doing? Like, where are we with his health? I had to like completely just turn everything over to the Lord and say, come what may. Like, I trust that, like, it's gonna be okay, And so for me, that's the biggest lesson that the Lord taught me, with that whole circumstance. But we finally, we're like, okay, he's recovering, things are looking good, and they're telling him, okay, you're going to be released, when your oxygen levels are this. And so slowly but surely, they're climbing little by little. And we kind of forget about the house. And all of a sudden, like out of nowhere, I get this check in the mail. And it was for the exact amount that we needed for the deposit of the house.
Oh,
and it was
The down payment.
the down payment for the house. And it was from this old car loan that we had with Wells Fargo. Do you remember we had
A neon.
a silver neon?
Yes. Standard.
Yes. So he crashed that neon one time and it was totaled because like he hit something in the bottom and the airbags popped, and so it was going to cost more to repair it than what the car was worth. So they just totaled it.
Wow.
But for whatever reason, like we never got the settlement, I guess, on it. And so this is like, I don't know,
Years ago?
15 years later.
Oh my gosh.
Out of nowhere, we get this letter stating that they owed us this money, and so here you go, we're paying
For
you
the
out.
exact amount that we needed for the down payment.
Oh my gosh. Like to the T?
Yes,
No.
yes,
That's
Yeah.
what we were like, what?
Wow.
Yeah.
That is awesome. God is great.
and so we were like, all right, Lord, I guess you know it is. It is
from
in your
you.
plans,
To be.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That is awesome.
His plans are greater than ours.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I remember you going through. I remember you being in the hospital, man. It broke my heart so bad. You're my brother. And I remember calling you to cheer you up. And then I regretted it because I didn't know you literally couldn't breathe. And making you laugh was a bad thing. I tried to. I forgot what I tried to say, man. But I FaceTimed you. And all you did was give me like a thumbs up because you couldn't talk. And then the second time that I FaceTimed you a couple days later, I was like, look, man, you better get out of this hospital because I'm tired of waking up at 5 a.m. to pray for you. So you better walk up out of this hospital, bro.
Yeah, those were some early prayers.
This is getting not fun.
Hey,
But
it's never too late to pray to God. So.
for sure, or too early.
Maybe it's never too late, but maybe it's too early.
Sometimes. But let me tell you about the type of guy that Luis is. As he's like maybe in his final week, because he said he gets out of the hospital December 9th, you said. Let me tell you about this guy. This is the type of man that this man is right here. He knew that I had just been accepted into the worship team at Northeast. And he knew, because, I'd be texting him or whatever, just to like try to keep him occupied. And he knew how insecure I felt about my, singing or whatever. And then he sends me Brandon Lake's song, Gratitude. And that was the very first time that I heard that song. And, at the bridge says, you have a lion inside of those lungs. Get up and praise the Lord. Here's this man fighting for his life. And he has the love to still encourage you. So, I'm just so thankful for you, bro.
That's when you just focus on yourself, it's easy to become anxious and become depressed, and when the focus is just internal. And it's important for us to focus on others, because when we serve others and we help others, like it blesses us.
Yeah.
And I remember we were praying for our pastor, and I would get on a few Zoom calls, and they were like, Luis, if you feel you're up for it, like, we'd love to have you. And I was like, yeah. And I remember like, losing my breath as I'm praying, as I'm speaking out loud, with still the oxygen in my nose and stuff. But I was like, God, you saved me. Like, how could I not serve you? How could I not, what can I do while I'm in here to maybe give people a different perspective of this thing of like, you're above COVID. I mean, there's way more worse diseases out there that you're above, and that, so all I can say is like, if you're going through something right now, is like, serve somebody else, because that's what Jesus did for us. You know what I mean? Like he's literally on the cross, bleeding out, dying, and he prays for us, saying, "God, forgive them, for they know not what they're doing." And mine was a small, minute pain compared to what my Savior has done for us. And so yeah, I think just focusing on others and helping and uplifting others is the goal for if you're battling depression, battling anxiety, battling all this other stuff. Like, go serve somebody else.
Oof.
That's
awesome.
Yeah. And then so yeah, we recover. Honestly, like we made like a new rules in our home, spending more time together, doing stuff together. Our daughter's 21 now, but we're thankful that she still loves to hang out with her parents. She's got a super social life, of course, but like she still loves to hang out with us. And 8 months.
She's always checking on us.
Yeah.
Like we went to go pick up Bear. Yeah, if she gets home and we're not home, she's like, "Where are you guys?"
Yeah.
I'm like, all of a sudden.
That's Alec.
How the turntables. And I guess one of the last things I'll share is just so much gratitude. I mean, that song, was came out at the perfect time, and just a new sense of gratitude. Honestly, has come into our family, and it was August of 22 now, no 21, when Mike and Hannah called us.
Yes.
Yeah. And, we went out for dinner with Mike and Hannah Richards, and they shared that they would like for me to leave my job and to be a full-time pastor. And, honestly, man, like that wasn't a goal of mine. I honestly didn't have, how can I say it? Like a dream of mine to be a pastor, or a goal of mine. I love serving. I love serving people. I love helping the community. I loved that part.
God had put it on our hearts though for like a good while that we at some point or another like we would like to do like ministry full time. That had always kind of been in the back of our minds. And
but I guess growing up, it wasn't something that I was
wasn't.
like, oh, one day I'm gonna be this.
You lie.
Well, my mom says it when I was little. Like,
there's a book that he made, like in
elementary school.
Like a little book, and it's got like drawings and stuff, and it talks about like what he wants to do when he grows up.
Hi.
And it said that he wanted to be a firefighter and a pastor.
No.
Yes.
How old were you?
Oh, I don't know, man. I was first, second grade, something like that.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, I mean,
Ask
I'm
and
a
you shall
pastor,
receive.
and I do put fires out.
In
Or
the
at least I
spirit.
try,
That was awesome.
But yeah, they offered it, and I was just like, how could I say no to God?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'll be honest with you, I was, and I still am nervous. Like I started. The spirit of Moses came into me of excuses of like, but I, once I told Mike and Hannah, I was like, yeah, we're gonna pray about it. This and that. And I remember going to God and be like, God, like I can't preach like a Chris Richards. I can't speak like the way Mike Richards speaks. And, I'm really bad at my Spanish, and this is a Spanish church. And
Go to Bible.
yeah, I didn't go to like Bible school, Bible college, or like this seminary or anything like that. I was like, I'm making all these excuses. I'm not Chris. I'm not Mike. And God literally said, yeah, I know. He was like, I know. I already have them. I need you.
Wow.
And, whatever I do bring is just gratitude.
Yeah. I think it's like from 2020, everything that happened to now, if there's one word that I guess would describe our family, it's gratitude.
Wow.
And so, we're there's not one Sunday that like I don't break down in worship, and just because I'm so grateful of like,
Yeah.
Where we started off to like where, he's brought us now in every aspect of our lives, and Luis is right, like, I have, self-doubts and stuff, but the Lord is, so good.
Right.
And he's been so good, and he'll continue to be so good. And, he just,
Yeah.
I don't know, we're just so grateful.
Yeah.
So all that to say is like, you may not be qualified or you may not be all this, but like God has given each and every single one of us talents and gifts, and use those gifts.
Yeah.
Don't compare yourself with anybody else. Whatever He's given you, it's for His glory. It's for the body of Christ.
Yep.
Like the word talks about how, a foot compared to an ear. Obviously, they're both parts of the body, and maybe they don't necessarily work, together, but they do. One's not more valuable than the other. It's like we all bring something to the table,
Yeah.
And so here we are, man. It's been over a year now that we've been serving as pastors there at the big campus too. And I was like, what the heck? I thought you were going to send me to a smaller campus, but you sent me to the monster.
Yeah.
But I'm not perfect. I make mistakes, and just out of gratitude, man, we're serving there, and who knows what God has in store for us next.
Yeah.
But that's what walking with Jesus is. It's walking on water.
Wow.
It's not stable. It's not meant to be comfortable, but it is meant to be exciting. It is meant to be out of your comfort zone, And I would just encourage, if anybody's listening to this, doesn't matter where you are, God can use you, because He created you. He designed you. He has a plan for you. Doesn't matter what thoughts are going through you right now and what your experiences are. We've opened up ourselves today just to not to glorify us at all, just to see how bad our situation was and how impossible. So when couples come to us and they're like, you know what, it's impossible. We this marriage can't survive anymore. I'm like, man, I was like, He literally resurrected ours, and He can do that for you.
Yeah.
As long as you're willing to swallow your ego.
Yeah.
And give your life to Christ and let Him be the center. It's doable. It's possible.
Amen. Yeah.
And we were one of those couples, right?
Yeah. You were the one that would reach out to Liz and Luis a lot. Keep you guys up at night all the time.
Guy, it's because, man, if you're listening, you don't understand, dude. You don't understand. Luis and Liz's heart is gigantic. Like, dude, how many times did I like keep you up at night, man, of telling you that exact word of, dude, I'm done with Natalie.
Yeah.
Like, this is impossible. This is dead. I'm done with her. And you're like, man up, buddy.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, you pulled out the man from the little boy. I still remember the conversation we had outside of the EchoStar parking lot. Before we even got married, she was pregnant, or she was about to give birth to Alec. And you're like, what are you waiting for? Why haven't you married her? And I was like, oh, it's because I don't know. And you're like, yeah, dude, you need a man up. I was like, dang. But like in a good way, like I was being a little boy, flat out. Just so much, always willing, never giving excuses or reasons or whatever of like, I'm too busy, I'm too tired or whatever. Always, hey, Luis, do you have a minute? We need to chat. I'm pretty sure as soon as you saw my name on your phone, you were like, I really don't want to answer this.
No.
Put another pot of coffee on, babe.
Yeah. Like, and still, like, I always lived in the Northeast. Y'all were always in the East Side, but you always like, let's meet up. Let's go grab a snow cone. Let's go just chat, and it's always just me venting. and you saying, "That's cute." You need a man up. So much, like in a good way. I'm obviously not giving you guys the full thing because that would be insane. But in a nut, the point of this, guys, is I want you to understand who they are, man. And if you know them by person, I'm preaching to the choir. But if you don't know them and you're only listening, oh my gosh, these guys are lit like angels from heaven. They're amazing people.
Yeah, big leaders with servant hearts. Like you guys have that servant heart, and
we travel so much together, dude.
Yeah.
Like we done live, bro.
Yeah.
We gone. I mean, Austin, Dallas, San
man.
Antonio, Houston, Phoenix,
DC,
Baltimore. Maryland.
And I think we've given you guys, I'm pretty sure, some headaches, but I mean, it was part of the process. And
the thing about you guys is, you see, there's people that seek help and don't do anything with the advice.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So there's a lot of people that would, and I'm not saying to us, like there's several people, leaders that we know, that have people come up to them, hey, we really need help. We love your marriage. And boom, we give them recommendations and they don't do anything with it. So it's like, hey, if you're not going to do anything with the advice, like I recommend you go somewhere else.
Well,
Sure.
Or they do that until they find the answer that they have been wanting to hear, but it's not necessarily the right answer, But like, a lot of the things that we, recommended, and like, you said, like Luis, told you and things like that. Like we saw that you guys always put it into action, and you were seeking for, for that advice, and you would do something with it, and had you not, like, you guys wouldn't be here,
You were also honest with me of what you were going through. There's a lot of people that will tell us a certain version of their story, and they don't really open up fully. And not that we can help. Shoot, my name's not the Holy Spirit. I'm not going to do the changes. I can give advice. I can pray with you. And in the end, it's the Holy Spirit that's going to bring conviction, that's going to make changes for you or help you make those changes. We can just guide people. We can just be helpers, And
that's another thing. Like te aferraste and you tied in tighter, you grabbed onto the Lord and you didn't, no flaqueaste, and you were strong enough to like pull your wife along, which in turn has pulled your kids along and, the generations to come as well, because
for sure
you're an example to your own family.
Yeah.
You're the light, hence the light stand, like you guys are being that light in your own family. You're running, I'm sure it's happened to you guys too. You run into old friends, old buddies, old party people, and they're like, they don't even recognize you anymore. Yeah. And that's great, because if they did recognize you, then that means we're not changing. Nothing's happened. Yeah. So keep doing what you guys are doing, man. I know you guys are impacting other people as well with this podcast, with your life as you live in a glass house. Keep being who you are. Keep Christ as the center, and that's all we need.
Thank you.
Thank you guys, man. Like I appreciate that. But I think it's just a testament of you guys. Like I'm just reflecting it right back to you, because you guys set the example for us of having that fire for God. Dude, I remember I'd go to your mom's house and you'd be ironing your shirt, like to go to a meeting or whatever, and you'd be like, "Have you heard of Joel Osteen? No, here you go, click." And the DVR, remember?
Oh snap! That was like one of the first books that I haven't ever read, like a Christian book. Yeah. And then I don't know if I read anything from him after that, but
I was like,
but it was a start. Yeah. It was like, hey, I don't know about the dude's life, but all I know is I read this book and I found some good nuggets. Which, by the way, the one I'm reading right now is called Necessary Endings. Highly recommended, and he just talks about pruning and how we all have certain things in our lives. No, it's not a Joel Osteen book. It's somebody else.
Prosperity.
But yeah, like it was a start. Sometimes we don't know what we're reading, how to even read. Maybe the Bible's like that for some people, right? Like I didn't know. I would just read the verse of the day and be like, yes, I read my Bible today, And that's probably where a lot of people are right now. They just read one verse and that's cool for them. That's awesome. Yeah. It's baby steps, But yeah, sorry, I don't know why I went off into that. But reading is super important.
Well, I think the thought of the video.
Oh yeah,
you're like, hey, have you heard of this pastor? Like, no. He's like, here you go, and I'm all, what the? And then 5 minutes later, I'm like, wow, that was cool. It was like baby spiritual Gerber, It was what I needed at that moment that I didn't know that I needed. Right. Obviously, as you mature, you're like, whoa,
right.
I don't like that food. And then you look for real food, organic, and non-GMO, spiritually.
Okay.
But like, it's so crazy, dude. Like, I don't know, man. It's cool.
Amen.
Yeah.
God's timing is perfect. So
if
you guys are listening to this right now and you guys are at a different level, I mean, nobody's better than anybody else. It's just we're all going through different seasons.
Yeah.
And there's people that, like the Burnett's, for example, they're not in our lives right now, but we love them. And if they were to call me right now and said something happened to them with their family, like I'd be gone. I'd be going to help them.
Yeah.
Reason I bring that up is because at that time we needed them in our life. And there's just changes, there's seasons, and there's growth. And there was a time where we're like, okay, like this relationship it's not there anymore. And now it's time for something else, and then other people come into your life and, and it's just part of life, it's okay.
Yeah.
And I ran into them not too long ago at the airport, and I hugged them out, and we were like, it's like back like old days again. Like, oh man, it's awesome, great to see you. Yeah. Seeing my brother, Gabe Terrazas, now him and Iris have their little baby, and just seeing their growth as a family, seeing their growth as a couple, and it's just like it's awesome.
Yeah.
But God has different plans for all of us, and we all are growing. Right. Maybe not going necessarily in the same direction. Well, but we are going the same direction, up, like towards God,
right?
But maybe just taking a different path, And what a reason I bring that up is because it was very hard for me to let go of certain relationships, certain friends from our business team. That was super difficult.
Goals and aspirations, absolutely.
Yeah. I've always been entrepreneur driven. Want to be a successful man, and I still am driven. But I in that hospital, it was, would you give up your dream for me?
Wow. God
was saying. And it was hard. I'm embarrassed to even say that. Like, how do you say no to God?
Yeah.
Right.
But I was so driven by my goals and my aspirations and what I want to provide for my family. And I knew that I was helping other people too in the process. So I knew I wasn't doing anything bad.
Yeah.
But letting go of that was very, very tough. But
I bet.
But for God's kingdom, I was like, yes, sir. Yes, Lord.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's dead forever. I'm not saying that I'm never gonna. That's not something that God can, bring back or whatever. But at the moment,
right?
Yeah.
I had to be focused on what He wanted me to do. Yeah. And for right now, it's pastoring and focused on that.
And I can honestly say that this time that it's been a little over a year now. I don't know, it's a different season of our life, and we've had great seasons. Like, I'm not going to say that, we had terrible seasons or whatever, but this one, honestly, I don't know. I've enjoyed it so much. There's so much peace and joy and gratitude and love and things that even in the great years, I can't say that I had all of that.
Right.
And it's just been amazing.
Well,
yeah.
That's awesome.
The seasons, man, that's something that we have been learning too, is to trust God's season and to trust his voice and to trust his plan and to change, like you said earlier, of God, this is my plan. I want you to work it for me.
Right.
You need to fit my plans versus God, I want what you want
Right.
for my life.
Yeah.
You know? So in retrospect, this is so beautiful because we've shared so much life together.
Yeah.
You know, there was a moment in time where we were like, dude, my purpose in life is to go, you know, emerald and diamond and, you know, be a multimillionaire and, you know, impact a ton of people in conferences and this and that. But it, you know, looking at retrospect, and who knows, like you said, you know, God hasn't said this season is completely over.
Right.
But like you said, it's serve me.
Yeah.
You know, show me where your heart's at.
Yeah.
Give me your heart. You know, God's after that heart. So, right there with you, brother. Like, you know, when I got, you know, when I met you and the Burnett's and Terrazas and DeSalt and everybody, it was like, dang, this is my purpose. But God was molding a man to break generational curses and to completely renew my mind of what I used to know that I thought was normal. And then he just matures you. He grows you in the specific ways. Your marriage, you know. I mean, babe, you can jump in and any time to say the growth that we saw in the seasons. Why are you making that face?
The eyes. The
the
fan
light?
is
The
drying
fan.
my eyes
Oh.
out. So I'm like,
So it's funny because God will put you somewhere and you think it's for one reason, but his plan is different.
Right.
I remember this story of, I was just telling the boys the other day, this man lives in the middle of nowhere in a wilderness in a little cabin. And then the man he goes outside and then he sees this big old boulder roll right in front of his door. And now he can't get into his cabin. It's a humongous boulder. So he starts trying to push it out of the way to get into his house and he can't. So he asks God, what's up here? And God says, I want you to push the boulder. So he starts pushing and pushing and pushing for a year. He does not move this boulder an inch, not even. So after a year, he throws up his hands in the air and he's like, God, what is going on, man? Like, I've been pushing this thing for a year and it has not moved an inch. I can't even get into my house. And God said, I never told you to move the rock. I just told you to push it. Because look at you look at yourself now. You're stronger than ever before. You have more muscle structure. Your strength, your grip strength, your leg strength, like everything. He's like, now you're ready for the battle that I'm going to put you in and that I'm going to give you victory over.
wow. Oh, that's awesome.
I was like,
Yeah.
and this whole time you think he's telling you to push it because you want to just get back into your house.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You know, I know that's something that Luis and I always talk about, like without all of those people that like God put in our path at one point or another, like they helped mold us and shape us. You know, a lot of that, what they taught us is a lot of who we are, you know, at this point. Like we didn't have integrity. We didn't, you know, we were always late everywhere. Even something as small as that, you know, we didn't know what like living in a glass house was like, you know,
Speaking
and
negative about people.
yeah. And you know, honestly, that's what Luis, you know, also talked about, like when he was in the hospital, you know, a lot of what was sown into him about like positive thinking, you know, the power of the spoken word, you know, things like that were taught many years ago, you know, to us, actually helped, you know, him throughout that whole process that he had to go through and stuff. And, but yeah, you're right. You know, a lot of those people left a huge imprint in our lives, and I'm forever eternally grateful for each and every single one of them. And, you know, like you said, you know, life, you know, God gives us different seasons in life, and we've chosen to just take the best portions of those and, you know, enjoy the one that the Lord has us in right now, which has been so joyful and so fulfilling.
Yeah. All glory to God.
Yeah.
If you're in the winter, just take time to be grateful for how beautiful the snowflake looks versus already desiring summer because of your heating bill.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you're missing the point of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's things that need to die in order for new things to grow.
Oh, come on, dude.
And so that's why I recommended that book, because it's really impacted me and helped me really understand a lot of things that happened to me before and things that are going through. We talk about seasons, but we all love spring. You know, we all love summer and things like that. We even love fall because of the colors and this and that. But to your point, winter is also part of that, the seasons. And things die. And it also gives us time to prepare for the spring. You know?
Dang.
So,
What did you say the name of the book was?
Necessary Endings.
Necessary endings. Kind of like what Grey's Anatomy needed 10 seasons ago.
What
I
Fast
agree.
and the Furious needed maybe a few movies ago.
Should have ended when McDreamy died.
That's why I haven't started it, because I think I tried it like one episode and I'm like, I can't go through all this. Like, this is too time
This is
consuming.
way too much drama.
Yes.
So,
Oh my gosh. Man, thank you guys so much, dude, for coming over. Dude, now we gotta do this again, but in Spanish, right?
sí.
Sí.
Because-
Alien can stay.
Oh man, thank you guys so much, man, for coming out. And just sharing, your testimony, dude.
Oh man, all the glory to God. So
Yes.
proud of you guys for what you guys are doing, and keep doing what you're doing, because I see your boys, I see they're young men of God, such a great future that they have in comparison to what they could have had, in the past. So you guys are blessed. Your home is not a building. Your home is the four of you. And that is your first ministry. And you just keep focusing on your family, Art, and God's going to bless you, man. You're going through a season right now.
Yeah.
What's coming? It's usually better than what we think, because if it's God's plan, we know it's going to be great.
100%. 100%.
Love you
you
guys.
guys.
Love you guys, man. Thank you so much for tuning in. And part 2 and 3 are coming.
Yes.
Don't you worry. Thank you guys for listening. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.